Being a medical specialist, catering to people living with HIV and AIDS, it has been our duty to care for people living with HIV and AIDS and the patient's needs. Okay? So, during the lockdown, wherein there was border limitation, we catered to a differentiated approach and outreach such as testing activities and self-testing, sexual and social networking and testing, and we refer the patients to other treatment hubs or centers that can cater to their needs. Patient-centered ARV deliveries were done, and we have been making use of courier services for them to be able to access the medications that they need, which are the life-saving treatment, such as the antiretrovirals. Since we cannot see them on a face-to-face basis, telemedicine consults and referrals to other facilities were done. So we have been coordinating with the other treatment hubs for them to see these patients that were locked down in the specific areas. So one of the noteworthy experiences that I had during the early part of the pandemic is the wearing of the personal protective equipments, which before we were not strongly enforcing. Like for example, the wearing of the goggles, the N95 mask, the wearing of the hazmat suits, which is very uncomfortable to speak of. So, as healthcare providers, we are expected to do that, to be able to protect ourselves and protect our patients at the same time. Unique challenges that I faced during the pandemic as a mother, a caregiver, a daughter-in-law, and a wife, there were so many things that has changed. At the 4th month of the pandemic, I was infected with COVID and I was admitted as a severe critical case. There was a 360-degree shift from being a caregiver to being a patient. During this time, depression is real because I was confined in one room alone and had difficulty breathing, had difficulty also trying to collect my thoughts, and I don't have anybody to talk to except during the shift of the nurses when they come in every 4 hours to take a look at my vital signs. While being alone in that room, faced with so many uncertainties, it was still in the early part of the pandemic wherein no treatment were prescribed. I really had to sign up myself in the so-called solidarity trial because I didn't have any choice. It's either I sign myself up to these trials or face the risk of not doing anything to fight this COVID-19. So while being there, the uncertainty of what is happening outside has put me in a dilemma of what is happening with my family outside. Growing up in a family wherein most of the members belong to the medical profession. Since I was a child and growing up with my 4 brothers, I really had to keep up with them. Not to compete with them actually, but to be at par with them. So during this time, I had to be strong not only for my sake, but for my family as well. And since I was the only one left in the Philippines, they were also at a loss on how to contact me and how to support me during these trying times. So, the only contact that I have outside is my cell phone, which luckily they allowed inside their ICU, and remain the only contact that I have with the outside world. But sad to say, I was so weak. I was put on a double line with all the Christmas tree, so to speak, of IV fluids, another life-saving fluids that was able to sustain me during this time. All of a sudden, I am no longer a doctor, but I was already a patient. They had to stick all sorts of needles in my body to be able to collect the necessary blood and other fluids that they need to evaluate my condition. So, it's really hard for them also as caregivers to do it to me. But then I've been telling them that I am now a patient and I'm not a doctor at this point. During this time, my faith was able to sustain me because the Lord is the only one that I could cling to during this time. And the only goal that I have is to get out of there alive. And one prayer that has constantly been in my mind is that though I walk into the valley of darkness, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Those are the only words that I uttered while being there. I am thankful to the Lord and to the other prayer warriors who sent their healing hugs and prayers for me to be able to recover. More than 2 weeks after I was admitted, I was discharged and was sent home to recover. How to be able to recover from the disease itself, coping with the emotional turmoil that it entails, is hard to do. 2 weeks after I was sent home, I came here again to the hospital for follow-up. And it was then that I was found to develop complications. So I was admitted or readmitted to the ICU again. This time, I was in a better position because I knew what I was fighting for. And still, my faith was able to sustain me during this time. The family support and the support of my co-workers and the institution, my friends and the doctors who attended to me, who are also our colleagues, had also a hard time addressing the issues. Because for one, they are my comrades in arms. Inner strength is important during these times because you really need to be strong. You will have to find something you're passionate about, and to keep tremendously interested in it. Because you know for a fact that no one ever became a success without taking chances. And with this pandemic, I was able to go through with it because I know that the chances were slim, but I persisted, so I was able to recover. For you women in law enforcement, you are also frontliners. Not as medical frontliners, baby, but frontliners as well. Women's empowerment can be defined to promoting women's sense of self-worth and their ability to determine their own choices and the right to influence social change for themselves and others. That is essentially the message that I would like to convey to all the women in law enforcement. Thank you and good day. Happy Women's Month to all the women in law enforcement. Continue inspiring other women in this time of pandemic. Women make change. Juana, laban sa pandemya, kaya.